no-brainer. Today we're going to completely change the way you look at a very common neighborhood fixture. When you walk past a brightly lit laundromat, it's so easy to assume it's just a simple retail storefront, right? Just a place with some nice floors, folding tables, and a bunch of appliances plugged into the wall. But the truth? The truth is entirely different. What you're actually looking at is a highly complex, heavy industrial machine that's just cleverly disguised as a local business. And let me tell you, designing that machine requires absolutely intense architectural planning and strict code compliance.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the blank canvas, move on to designing the public floor, tackle ADA accessibility, uncover those hidden utility corridors, trace the airflow, and finally, we'll look at the massive utility costs. Section 1. The blank canvas. A 3,800 square foot shell in Polk County. So, let's set the stage for this massive transformation. We are starting with a completely vacant commercial shell right here in Polk County. We're working with exactly 3,878 square feet. To put that into perspective, the dimensions are roughly 104 feet long by 37 feet wide, and it's capped off with a 10-foot ceiling. Right now, well, it's just an empty box. There are no fixtures, no plumbing, no mechanical or electrical service ready for the kind of heavy use we need. To turn this into a functional laundromat, it requires entirely new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing infrastructure engineered right from the ground up. It's honestly pretty amazing to think about the sheer scale of what has to go into this empty space.
Moving right along to Section 2, Designing the Public Floor, Mapping the Customer Experience.
All right, mentally step through those double front doors with me for a second. Right away, you'll see that the public laundry floor, the main revenue-generating area, it absolutely dominates the footprint at 58%. That's about 2,200 square feet dedicated entirely to washer islands, strategically placed right in the center, and massive banks of 40-plus drying pockets lining the perimeter. The rest of the space? It's tightly allocated to wash-dry-fold production, lounge amenities, and those essential back-of-house mechanical and storage rooms. It's a really delicate balancing act to maximize that revenue-generating floor while still leaving enough room for all the heavy infrastructure.
Section 3. ADA Compliance, Designing for Accessibility.
Now, creating this open, airy flow isn't just about good aesthetics. It is strictly regulated by the Florida Building Code. And what really surprised me is this one crucial constraint, 34 inches. Under Sections 214 and 703, a laundromat must have at least one of each type of machine on an accessible route. But beyond that, you're legally required to provide at least one folding table that is between 28 to 34 inches high. And it absolutely must include appropriate knee clearance for a wheelchair. It completely dictates how you map out the furniture before a single machine is even ordered.
And that accessibility mandate extends directly to the walkways, too. If you compare standard retail aisles to the 48-inch ADA-compliant aisles required here, you see a huge difference. You have to ensure a full 48 inches of clear floor space. Imagine standing in that aisle when 40-plus commercial machine doors, both washers and dryers, are swinging open simultaneously. It's organized chaos. The floor plan gets incredibly tight, incredibly fast, and literally every single inch must be accounted for on the architectural drawings.
Which brings us to Section 4. The hidden utility corridors, the back-of-house infrastructure.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is what happens when we look behind those pristine walls and dive into the mechanical heart of the machine. Our architectural source notes that you need a 4 to 5 foot clear width right behind the washer rows, just for the plumbing troughs and gas manifolds. These concealed utility chases are just as vital and honestly just as spatially demanding as the customer floor. You're literally building hidden corridors inside of public corridors just to feed these machines.
And the code requirements inside those hidden chases, they are intense. For instance, Florida Building Code 406.3 dictates that waste from these high-capacity washers must discharge into specialized standpipes or concrete trenches. Then, per FBC 1003.6, you absolutely must install lint interceptors. These are non-negotiable must-haves. They're designed to catch any solids larger than a half-inch. We're talking lost buttons, forgotten coins, heavy clumps of lint, before they can wreak havoc on Polk County's public sewer system. Add in the high BTU gas distribution manifolds for the dryers and an upgraded 2-inch municipal water meter just to handle the massive volume, and, well, you begin to see why this is truly an industrial operation.
Section 5. Tracing airflow, the invisible egress and ventilation path.
Let's actually shift our focus upward toward those 12-foot ceilings to see how this builds step by step. Alongside ensuring safe, unobstructed human egress paths out of the building in case of an emergency, we have to map a continuous heavy volume of air moving dynamically through the space. First step, per FBC 504.5, for every cubic foot of air blasted out by the dryers, an equal amount of fresh makeup air must be actively pulled into the building. If you fail to design this intake, you risk dangerous backdrafting of gas appliances. No one wants that. Second step, we've got mechanical ventilation managing the heavy Florida humidity in the customer area. Third, that air feeds the intense combustion right inside the dryer drums. And finally, step 4, all of that hot, lint-filled air is exhausted outside. Crucially, code mandates this exhaust must run through rigid galvanized steel or aluminum ducts. Absolutely no plastic allowed. It's like a continuous invisible wind tunnel constantly running right above your head.
Section 6. The true cost. Utility fees and code enforcement. So we've got to talk about the financial reality of plugging this high-utility machine into the local municipal grid. $4,778. That is just the base transportation impact fee per 1,000 square feet for retail commercial space in Polk County. But because a laundromat relies on heavy water and sewer usage, which is calculated by daily gallons, the total municipal connection fees can easily skyrocket. Surprisingly, they can exceed $20,000 to $50,000 before you even unlock your doors for the first time. It's genuinely shocking when you run those numbers.
But wait, the county's oversight doesn't stop once you pay those fees. Because of the incredible water usage, Polk County utilities can classify laundromats as industrial users. And this classification means they may require you to install a massive 24-inch sampling manhole directly downstream from your lint interceptor. Why? Well, so the county can independently test your wastewater. If they find high levels of total suspended solids, like excessive lint slipping through your filters, they can and will levy heavy surcharge fees right onto the owner's monthly utility bill.
Which brings us to our final thought. After all of this, will you ever look at a brightly lit retail laundromat the same way again? The next time you walk through those double doors to wash your clothes, I want you to look past the spinning drums and the folding tables. Take a moment to realize that you are standing inside a carefully balanced, highly regulated, breathing industrial machine. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you walk away with a brand new perspective on the invisible engineering all around us.